Alright, we're going to be continuing with more transformations. But this one specifically, we're going to be talking about what happens to functions when dealing with absolute value. Okay? So what I want you guys to do as you're taking notes, I want you guys right here for this function that is traced in blue, I want you to write y equals, we're going to call this one x squared minus 2, because right here it's been translated down a few units. We'll just say it's been translated 2 units. So I want you to write this equation for this graph. Over here, I want you guys to write y equals parentheses x minus 2 close parentheses squared. That's going to represent a horizontal shift. Okay, so we're saying this graph is horizontally shifted a couple of units to the right. So make sure you have this equation for this graph. Alright, on this graph right here, what I'd like you to do, I would like you guys to write y equals, and put absolute value bars, and put x squared minus 2 inside of those bars. Now what this is going to do, that's going to make any y value in the graph that was negative, so like these values right here that were negative, notice this is what? This is in quadrant number 3, this is in quadrant 4, so all the y values in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, they're negative. Okay? What's going to happen is all these are going to actually become positive. That's what's going to happen. Now don't put this on your paper right now, because we're going to see it in the graph. So basically, our original graph did this. The original graph went down, it bottomed out at -2, and then it went up. In this graph, they're going down right where they hit the x-axis. Anything below the x-axis is considered to be negative, so this is going to just go right above. These are going to be what? Mirror images. Okay, so if you look at the words right here, it says, the transformation reflects any portion of the graph of the function that is where? That is below the x-axis, so that is now above the x-axis. That's what it's doing. So let's take a look at it. Go to your graphing calculator. Hit y equals. Go up to y1. And I want you guys to type in x squared minus 2. Hit graph. Take a look at it. All right. Now, your calculator may be in Zoom number 4. So right now, this is our original function. We just called this f of x. Now what I want you to do is hit y equals, go down to y2, and this time hit alpha window enter to get your absolute value. And this time type your function inside of the absolute value. So right now, see how this is x squared minus 2? Now we're just placing it where? Inside of your absolute value. When you get done with that, hit graph. It's kind of cool. Just watch it. Huh. So what happened? Which values got flipped? Yeah, the y values that were negative now became positive. You guys see how these are reflections of each other across the x-axis? That's how it works. Kind of cool. Alright, now, go to y equals. Clear this out. Clear this out. We're going to go right now to parentheses x minus 2 squared. You're going to hit graph. So you can see this is a what? Horizontal translation, 2 units to the right. 2 units to the right. That's what the graph looks like. Now I'm going to go back to our page right here, because I didn't write down the function that goes with this. So this is your one that we just did. Now, this one's going to be a little bit trickier. Okay, y equals, open up a parentheses, just like we open up parentheses here. Except this time, don't put absolute value around everything. Just put absolute value around your values for x. So look where the absolute values bars are. Okay, do it in green. Here, they're right here. They're on the outside of everything. Over here, they're right just on either side of just your x variable. Alright? So, now that you see that, let's go ahead and type this one in and see what happens. What it says is this. It says, this transformation results in the portion of the graph of this function that is to the left of the y-axis being replaced by the reflection that's to the portion of the right. What the heck does that mean? Well, let's do it, right? Hit y equals. Go down to y2, open up parentheses, and now inside of the parentheses, what are we going to put? Alpha y equals the absolute value, x, and go outside of it, right? We're just doing just this value for x. We're going to say minus 2. This is where it becomes pretty cool. Everybody see that trace? Now I'm gonna hit zoom 6 so you guys can see the whole thing. You guys see the difference between this one right here? Look what's missing, everybody. What's missing right here in the graph? That portion right there is no longer there. Okay? That portion is now gone. And so where is this reflecting across? This is reflecting across the y-axis. So now that's split right there. Everybody see how that's split across the y-axis? Hopefully the answer is yes. So there, look at the graph, take a picture. Hopefully you can see that this is going across the y-axis. All right. So let's take a look at something. All right, everybody. This graph right here is this. Okay, that's what this one is right now. Now it says, if we wanted to graph this one where g of x ends up becoming the absolute value of x squared minus 4x plus 3, which scenario is that one? The first one or the second one? If I put the whole thing inside of absolute value, go back, take a look. We're dealing with this one right here. So what's gonna happen? Just this portion is gonna go above the x-axis. Let's go back there and check it out. So you see right here where it bottoms out right there? That's below the x-axis. So what's gonna happen? This is gonna go almost. So right now, if I wanted to trace the new graph should look like what? It should go down, hit here, and do what? Go up, and then continue up. That's what it should do. My kindergarten, yes, Mrs. Nicole, you can be proud. All right. Back in the day, a long time ago. Hey, there it is. Ooh. Now this one's different. Check this one out. This one says h of x equals this. Where's the absolute value? Inside of it. So this one, if I wanted to write h of x equals, we're going to open up the parentheses, right? Okay. See here, we're going to put absolute value around the x, and then we're going to square it, right? Minus 4 times the absolute value of x, right? Plus a 3. All right, so I think that's good. Have that in the graphic calculator. See what happens. See if this works, all right? So tell me the original graph. Oh wait, you didn't see the original graph. Hold on, go back. You don't have that. x squared minus 4x plus 3. Remember that. X squared minus 4x plus 3. X squared minus 4x plus 3. We're going to graph. There it is right there. So now we're getting y equals. We're going to go parentheses. We're going to do alpha window enter. I type it in x. I'm going to square it minus 4 times the absolute value of x plus 3. Sweet. It worked. So right here, when you take the absolute value of each value for x, alright, so when we take absolute value of all of those, when we hit the graph button, you can clearly see that it's what? It's a reflection across what? The y-axis. Reflection across the y-axis. Now you had a question, you're like, what would happen if right here, alright, what I'll do is I'll clear this one out, What would happen if we put a negative? Say second delete, which means we insert a negative. What do you think is going to happen if I do a negative? What's going to happen with that?
Upside down.
Upside down, it's going to go across what axis? X-axis. There it goes. Alright. Hey, now I'm hungry. I want to go to McDonald's. Alright? So, by the way, you need to know all these transformations. This is the final transformation we're talking about, which is the absolute value transformation. So, what I'd like you guys to do is go to your assignment. Okay? We're going to go right over here to the assignment. We're going to do problem number 1 together. Without a graphic calculator, we're going to do problem number 1.
What if we never got this?
Well, then this would be a good time for you to let me know that you didn't have the assignment. You don't have the assignment. All right, I'm going to get you the assignment. There it goes. There's your answer. All right. All right, now that everybody has an assignment, okay, we're going to go to it right here. All right, right now, everybody, I want you guys to choose a color. I'm choosing blue for my parent function for all square root functions, which is y equals the square root of x. Now, we're not going to use a graphing calculator because this is a very, very, very easy function to graph, x and y. If I plug in a 0 right here, everybody, if I plug in a 0, what's the square root of 0? 0. What's the square root of 1? 1. What's the square root of 4? No. 2, yes. All right, so we're going to plot those 3 points. 0, 0, 1, 1, and 4, 2, and then just simply connect those nice and neat. There is your parent function for all square root functions. All right. Now, I'm going to highlight the other one. You can choose a different color. I'm just going to choose red. Hopefully you're not colorblind, otherwise this is not going to be helpful at all. So I'm going to say y equals the square root of the sum of a number and 3, and then we add 1 at the end. There's actually 2 things going on right now with this. So 2 different types of transformations going on. What's one of the transformations that's going on with this function? What's happened? Going up 1. So right now I'm going to write vertical. There is a vertical translation. And that vertical translation, it goes what? Up 1, right? But up 1. What's the other thing that's happening? It's not vertical, it's horizontal. Now this is where students will have to think a little bit harder. Alright? We got to figure out which direction it's going to go. But what number would I have to plug in here to get this back to 0? -3. That's my hint for you. So we're going to have actually 3 units to the left. That's the horizontal translation. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go 3 units to the left and up 1, or up 1 and 3 units to the left, however you want to do. So right here, you go 1, 2, 3, and up 1. From here, 1, 2, 3, and up 1. 1, 2, 3, and up 1. So you guys can actually do this without even using a graphing calculator. And there, right there, is your new function. So this, use the graph of this to graph this one. So we use the parent function to graph our new function. Now, let's see if these points actually work. Ready? If I plug in a 1 right there, everybody, if I plug in a 1, what's 1 plus 3? 4, what's the square root of 4? 2, what's 2 plus 1? There we go, there's 1, 3 right there. If I plug in a negative 2, what's negative 2 plus 3? 1, what's the square root of 1? What's 1 plus 1? 2, there's negative 2, 2. All right? And right here, if I plug in a negative 3, Raymond, what's negative 3 plus 3? Plus 1 is? So at negative 3, you go up 1. Right. So what I want you guys to do on this graph is I want you guys to use the parent function for all absolute value functions. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to draw the parent function for all absolute value functions right now in blue. There we go. That's right here is the parent function for all absolute value functions. Should you have that in your journal? Yeah. So there we go. There's the parent function right there. What I want you guys to do is I want you guys to tell me what is happening right here in this portion. That's what you're going to be working on. So I want the other graph in a totally different color. That's what you're going to be working on right now, is dealing with transformations. And that's it.